being able to run your business now, one of the things I've always tried to gear towards is one day, whenever I am eligible to retire from the fire department, I'm only about 2.5 years from being eligible to retire. Not saying that I will, but I have placed a big emphasis on what I'm building. I will have geographical freedom, and not just the time freedom, but I want to be able to run my business with my backpack and have my laptop and my phone, so that if I want to be here, there, or everywhere, because with the line of work I'm in, I'm kind of limited to geographically where I can be
Right.
while I'm still employed. So
Yeah.
this is a way to do that, having that weekly call, having that dashboard, having the different charts and tabs. I can do that from anywhere.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy that.
Welcome back to the Profit First REI podcast. I have special guest Mike Webb today. He is partners with Bill Kenny, and they do the storage, they lend, they do. Honestly, Mike's more interesting. Just kidding, Bill. If you're listening to this, I love you. But Mike's got a lot of stuff going on. He's got a first responder group of for financial freedom. You're also a first responder as well, too, correct, Mike? And and that's what
Correct.
did you go back to that? We were just talking about that beforehand, but tell me what's going on that side of your life.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me on. Yeah, as far as the first responder component of things, yes, I've been a career firefighter in the DC, Baltimore metro area for about 18 years. And I was off work since February, and this is being recorded the last day of July. So I've been off work for about 5.5 months, and I just returned to full duty status after a brain injury. So I was off work for quite some time.
Okay. Do you want to talk about that? How is that being off work
Sure.
for that long? And I don't know, there's so many questions we could go down, but first, what was it, an injury at the first responder job that happened?
Yeah. So I suffered a brain bleed while I was at work.
Oh, wow.
And I was ended up being transported by ambulance and then flown to a specialty hospital in DC and spent time in the neurological ICU, and then discharged, and all the just trials and tribulations of that. All things considered, I'm very fortunate that I have no, or at least at this point in time, no known long-term issues or deficits. So that's a positive considering what could have happened. So being off work for that amount of time, I would say, is just it forced me to just slow down, which is good.
Yeah.
I think probably for most of the folks listening to this type of podcast, we're always, I think, burning it on both ends.
Yeah.
And sometimes, it's God's wake up call to just say, hey, we need to pivot a little bit. So it was very good. My wife was the same. My family's been great. My parents and just all the folks that helped us through that time. But I would say my biggest takeaway from that is you slow down and you kind of reframe what's important. Not that I think that previous to that, in my opinion, I was out of whack with those things, but it does make you slow down and say, hey, 99% of this crap that I'm dealing with today is not going to matter.
Yeah.
Come reckoning time. So yeah, it's been a interesting road, challenging at times, and enough medical procedures and appointments that I'm fine with not doing that for a long, long time. I joked with my wife that, it's pretty bad. You're getting old when you combine date nights with doctor's appointments.
Been doing coordinating it, yeah.
Yeah. So
on the way back, we'll stop at this place. And
yeah. So being a firefighter, obviously the job description is pretty demanding, based on paper, and because of my injury, I had to go through a lot of different, I don't want to say hoops, but we'll call them precautions in order for me to return to full duty status. So that in a nutshell is what transpired.
So let's talk about real estate during that time. Was that what helped sustain you, or or I don't know, because you say you slowed down, but I also know you work with Bill, and it's I'm sure there was demands on the lending or on the storage side. So were you still doing some of that from home, or was that able to keep you busy, in those down times, and so you're just not twiddling your thumbs for
so the first 2 months I was basically good for anywhere from 10 minutes a day to a couple hours a day as it
Mm,
progressed because I was still in a lot of pain.
okay.
But when I say slow down, fortunately, um, like rewind 7 or 8 years, like when we built the business that we have together, like we were, I can't say intentional because that makes it sound like we were smart and knew what we were doing. We were relatively intentional
Yeah,
about building a business and not building another job, which meaning neither one of us are out there swinging the hammers or doing a lot of the hands-on work that needs to happen with the different business parts of the business.
yeah,
With that being said, there's times with a small business you have to hop in and do those things.
right,
What it looked like for me in slowing down is I had to be a little more intentional with my time and energy that I did have. And I wasn't working in the firehouse and running a real estate business at the same time. Um, I was I was off work. I was on no duty status, so I wasn't even allowed to be in the firehouse doing anything.
mm,
So it allowed me an opportunity to kind of like look up and out a little bit,
yeah,
kind of get my head out of the weeds and kind of just recalibrate on what that North Star looked like for the business as a whole. And basically, it just allowed us to kind of start working on more strategic items that always get pushed to the back burner
right,
as a business owner and operator because you're just always dealing with the tactical day-to-day
right.
stuff. And I wish I could say it was like all perfect and rainbows, but it's not. But it allowed me some time to like really sit down and think about what do I want this to look like. So yes, it slowed down in one capacity, but I guess kind of picked up in a different.
Right, yeah, and picked up, like you said, in a more intentional way. It sounds like being able to get your head out of the sand and to kind of say, okay, what's really in taking stock, which I'm sure you would have rathered it be in a different manner or a different course than
Sure.
like having to go through that. But it sounds like you've also got that in you where the good entrepreneurs they take those challenges as opportunities to be like, okay, I can't work, I can't go do this thing. Like, what can I do? In order to make
Yeah.
things better. And it sounds like you took advantage of that, which is great. Sounds like you also had a good support system at home with your spouse and your family, which is another huge thing. So you've surrounded yourself with good people at home too. Then you've got, your business partner, Bill, and being able to have someone there that you can rely on if something like this happens as well, which, how long have you two worked together now? How many years?
Um, Off and on, or I say off and on, it's not like we broke up, but like formally, we've had our own company together, I think going on 8 years. But I actually have the check from our first wholesale. Him and I did our first wholesale July 2nd of 2014 together.
Nice.
So I have it on my bulletin board. But yeah, that and in between then, like we were passing each other deals, helping each other out.
Yeah.
But like we started our own business, Jump Capital or Jump in the Dark about 8 years ago.
I think that's something that most people that are on the fence of like they never want a business partner, they never want to work with someone like at that level, more they just want people that work, for them or whatnot. I think this is one thing that they don't think about is what if something happens like and am I going to rely on the whole business and the system and like have you built the system yet or and that's a business partner if you have someone you trust and that you really have worked with for a long time, that person being able to step up to bat, but then they know that you've got your back too, that you've
Yeah.
got their back as well. So I'm sure there was some level there of like, thank God I've got Bill, to be able to at least run these ideas past or take the ball while I can't do anything. Did you feel some of that during this time and the business side?
Uh, well, as luck would have it, so with our one storage location, we have three separate facilities, and at the one location that's closest to us, we had been preparing for an expansion. And
Mm,
as a part of Section 179, we ordered these units. They're called Boxwell units. They're basically sea containers, slang term, I
yeah.
guess, within the industry, but like the portable storage units, right? So we had prepped this area. And just for some context, I typically handle most of the storage side of the business. Bill handles a lot of the lending side of the business, but we kind of both share workloads behind the scenes. So I say that because the day after this all happened with my being flown to DC and in the hospital, I'm in the NICU and we're supposed to take delivery of these portable storage units. So, wild card. So
Yeah.
Bill then gets thrust into this role. Fortunately, a guy that had done a lot of the prep work for us, he knows personally. So I was like, hey, call Sean, do that, and on the storage or at the storage facility, I could see on the cameras him there and then taking delivery of them. So that's just a small example, but a huge item. Had I been laid up in the hospital like I was, and that happened, I don't even really know how we would have dealt with that. I'm sure at some point I would have figured it out, but at that point, it was nice to know that that was just being taken care of because at that
Mm,
point, like I still was in a world of hurt and like
yeah.
could barely talk, let alone communicate and deal with stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I've heard the argument and I can agree and disagree with some of the pros and cons of a business partner versus not having a business partner. But I can tell you, even like I don't know, from my perspective, I would not be doing as much of what we are doing if it was just me.
Yeah.
I can guarantee that.
Yeah.
So
And those secondary benefits that you never hope you have to lean on, but when they do happen, those wild, like you said, the wild cards that are out there, this is one of those ones where it's nice to have that. And not even nice, it's like it helped to keep it running and
yeah,
operational and functional, which is really great too. So
right.
okay. Well no, I love that and being able to rely on each other. Um Okay. Well, then let's go down that road a little bit, the storage and the lending, and you're being more strategic now. Obviously, if we talked to Bill a few weeks ago, so people know that Bill's a client, so you're a client of Simple
Sure.
CFO. So, do you want to talk about the strategic direction you've gone from a financial perspective of like, okay, what it looked like before and now what you're working on?
Yeah. So again, just for a little more context, when we started our business, we were primarily geared on wholesaling
Hmm.
and buying rental properties. And then we transitioned into flipping. And then, of course, we had to dip our toe in Airbnb because that was a wave we rode for a while. Um, so we had all these plates in the air. And anybody that's flipped houses or wholesaled knows that one month you can feel like the the Prince of Dubai with income, and then the next month, man, you're begging for dollars, right? So, it's a cash flow roller coaster to some extent when you're in those businesses. And we eventually were just kind of looking around like, hey, we're not sure we want to keep doing this. There's obviously good earning potential in these, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So we have been running our own meetup locally, which actually you were speaker at for a couple years ago. And we still run it to this day.
Awesome.
And it's one of those things where it's like we had started that with no intention of really what we were going to do with it. So we were like, you know what? We really want to just kind of switch to become the bank eventually. So what does that look like one day? And one of our friends had gotten into storage, and I remember him basically being at this mastermind we were at, and I'm paraphrasing, but basically he was bored. It was so systematic. He was like, what should I do next? Because I'm just bored. And I'm like, man, I really want to get to that point because at the time, I've had like 8 or 10 flips going and stuff's going crazy. And so we sat down and we're like, all right, what if we just started, instead of wholesaling and flipping, our transactional income started to be geared more along the lines of lending? And what did that look like? Because we had built this network, we had built all these private lenders because we're flipping, like they're going to want a place to put their money. So we started to figure out what that looked like using our own funds plus arbitraging investor capital and lending it out. Um, Frankly, using a lot of folks that we met through the meetup that we had started. But
Cool.
it's one of those like, what's the dig the well before you're thirsty?
Right.
Like we never started it with that intention, man. It was just like one of those things that like, hey, we saw this opportunity. We kind of were ready for a change of pace. It worked out. And then so we started to shift, instead of just buying regular 1 and 2 unit rentals, we 1031 a couple, bought a storage facility and started to run that like a real estate asset, but also a business. And have just been focusing on lending as our transactional income and parking a lot of the proceeds in bigger commercial assets or, medium sized commercial assets, and kind of being more intentional that way versus buying the 1 and 2 single families here and there, which, just to be clear, like, I think it's still a great strategy if that's your cup of tea. Like, there is a million ways to make $1 million in real estate, and that's what's cool. We just decided that where we were at in our journey, life, kids, etc., like, we were ready to kind of do those 2 items.
Cool. So then talk about on the financial side, like, did that help you, like, being more strategic, and why would you even hire a CFO? And like, why would you
Yeah.
go down that route?
Sorry, I was trying to give context and totally
Yeah,
forgot the
yeah.
question.
No, it's totally fine. I'm just circling it back around.
Yeah, no, this is perfect. Great. Glad you're here. No, it's one of those things, like, back to the cash flow, the in and out, like,
Yeah,
we always kinda had a pulse on what's going on because you're the one in the trenches each day. So you're kinda just managing by, like, what's going out, what's coming in, you're taking a look at the cash and the accounts. But, once we realized we were going to kind of pivot, we knew, um, we needed some assistance, and we had tried a bunch of different things. Like, QuickBooks is not my love language, and I just, as much as I tried, I just knew this was not gonna be my thing.
yeah,
So I took a couple online courses, a bunch of scolding from my CPA, just all that kind of stuff. And eventually we were at this mastermind we were in Charleston, South Carolina. And whenever we were standing in front of like these 15 guys and we're just kind of explaining where we're at and where we're at with the business, everybody's like, you need a CFO.
Hmm.
You need a CFO. And I'm like, all right. So we heard this from like 3 or 4 guys from the outside looking in. They're like,
yeah,
this is what you need. And all right, well, let's take a look. And then I sat down like, CFO. Oh, hey, David Richter. I know he's doing that, simple CFO. And then like there was a couple others, and I think we reached out to you. And
yeah,
I remember being like, well, can we interview the clients or the CFO? And you're like, well, we could, but we recommend we place them based on the interview we have with
yeah,
you type thing. And I was like, oh man, I really want to pick it, but I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to trust the process. And you paired us up with Tony, and it's been remarkable. And just show you how naive or dense or whatever you want to call it I am or was. I was like, we're going to use this for like 3 months. We're going to get this ironed out. Good to go. Every other week, by the way. We meet with them weekly now. We're going on a year. And frankly, I think it's the smartest money I've spent in a long time. Just we're not where I want to be yet. But with that being said, the clarity that we have just picked up, the other thing that's been cool is like Bill and I are getting paid now versus just randomly getting
right,
paid.
yeah,
We're getting a monthly pay. So that's definitely cool. Definitely embodying that profit first concept versus just a name. Like we're actually doing it.
yeah,
Because how many times have I'll admit, you read profit first and you're like, well, I'm going to only do this part of it,
right, yeah,
this part of it, like, why would I do the whole thing? You know? So anyways, it's been very good and it's been eye opening. It's provided us a lot of clarity. And again, we're not out of the mess yet, if you want to call it that, but I always joke, like sometimes the calls are painful, but on the other hand, like just the growth, I think back to where we were when we started versus right now, it's like night and day.
yeah,
But and as our business continues to grow and evolve, it's going to start to allow us to make a lot more educated decisions based on tax implications and just a lot of different
yeah,
stuff that now we actually have that information based instead of just going based on what's in our heads
yeah,
or what's in the bank account. So
yeah,
it's been awesome. And I just think it's funny every time I think like I thought I was going to use this for like 3 or 4 months and we were only going to meet every other week. And now we meet every week. And I don't know if it's been a year, but it's got to be getting close. Like,
yeah,
so it's one of those, like I view where we're at with our business going to that next level. Like we can't afford to not have that
mm,
component to the business.
yeah. Well, I appreciate that, but I appreciate how you guys have leaned into it too. Because, it's like it also depends on how much you're willing to grow as a business owner. Because, like before, flying by the seat of your pants and just always answering the urgent doesn't get you
Yeah.
to where you really want to. And now it's like you're being intentional,
Yeah.
on the money side, not just the whole business structure, but like the making sure every dollar, and then you're
Well,
actually getting paid too.
yeah,
It's great.
that's a great bonus. But it's one of those things like it. That's how I think a lot of entrepreneurs or real estate investors operate,
Hmm.
and ourself included. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying that we're perfect by any means, and we're not where we want to be yet. But I can tell you, like, it's a lot more reassuring to know, like, hey, this money's allocated for this money's allocated for that, versus just it tying up bandwidth in your brain for, oh, is that handled? Is this taken care of?
Hmm.
And we're not to the point where I don't think about any of it yet, but it's gotten a lot better to where it's like, you know what? I know we've allocated for that. I know we have that. And we're kind of at the point now where we're adjusting the taps and the caps because of the projections when we first started. But um, yeah, I can't recommend it enough, and, I'm anxious to see what this looks like a year from now,
Yeah.
'cause that's really exciting for me.
Yeah, which I'm excited for you because you've leaned into it and you're actually implementing, and then you guys are going out there and you still are growing and you're still going and
Mm,
doing the things, and now you're, if you're you with the wild card, it's like now coming back into you're coming back. It sounds like you're going to get back into your routine, like you're going back to work, you're doing the things, and
yep.
you've got
Yeah, I mean,
everything.
I've been back to work for 2 weeks, and, I like I said early on, I was not doing much real estate.
Yeah,
I was doing some stuff, but, like, very minimal and from my couch with a cell phone, that was it.
yeah,
And, being able to run your business now, one of the things I've always tried to gear towards is one day whenever I am eligible to retire from the fire department. I'm only about 2.5 years from being eligible to retire. Not saying that I will, but I have placed a big emphasis on what I'm building. I will have geographical freedom and not just the time freedom, but I want to be able to run my business with my backpack and have my laptop and my phone so that if I want to be here, there, or everywhere, because with the line of work I'm in, I'm kind of limited to geographically where I can be
right,
while I'm still employed. So
yeah,
this is a way to do that. Having that weekly call, having that dashboard, having the different charts and tabs, I can do that from anywhere,
yeah.
and I really enjoy that.
Yeah, which it sounds like you're transitioning into more of that CEO role of like I need to run the business by the dashboard and the numbers, and it's like as you grow, you're just putting more pieces in place like that across across the business. So now it just seems like you're seeing the tangible benefit of okay,
Yeah,
now I can see the numbers, now I can have the clarity, and now I can make the decisions, versus just
exactly.
this sounds good, let's do it, like, and
Yeah,
where a lot of us fall into.
it's one of those things, and anybody that's like on the cusp of whether they should do it, I would strongly encourage you to take the leap because I thought naively enough that I didn't need it. And I joke that like we were so busy trying to bring business in the door, we weren't worried about the mess we were creating on the back end.
Hmm.
And I think there's always a little bit of that give and take.
Oh yeah, big time.
Uh, right. And you like, I'm sure even within starting simple CFO, like you're out there drumming up business and on the back end, sometimes like there's not enough business coming in, but the back end's really nice.
Right, right.
Then, you teeter totter into
Yeah, vice
there's
versa.
too much business coming in and the back end's a train wreck, like you're always trying to balance that. And
Yep.
I think we really needed this service about 3 years before we did it,
Yeah.
is my guess.
When
But
when we first
uh,
met, and like at one of those
probably, yeah,
match
that's probably that's probably when I should have started. But I was like, man, I'm good.
yeah,
So it's
nah,
it's it's one of the things like whenever you're ready, you think you're ready, you're probably actually behind the eight ball.
yeah, which that's a good way of putting it. I actually hear that a lot. It's like, dang it,
Yeah,
I wish I would have started this several years ago because it's like now the clarity I would have had along the journey,
yeah.
but at least you started it and now you've planted the seed for a year and it's like now that tree is going to grow and now you're growing, and you're growing as a business owner. And that's really what I like to see is because what I'm really hearing behind the scenes is like you feel more like a business owner, like you
Oh,
have the
100%.
dashboard and the numbers and you've got everything in front of you. So,
Yeah, it's the same, clarity that like, oh, I wish I would have bought that piece of property
mm,
10 years ago.
right.
It's the same. I wish I would have done that 10
And
years ago or
what
bought
I
that
have that
5 years
property.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the same concept.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I thank you enough for it, but it's one of those like I'm glad that I had the Mike McCallowitz book
Yeah.
and your book and just because when
Thank
like when you read the right book at the right time, you're
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, that's me right there,
Yeah.
you know? So, that was kind of where it's like, all right, I need to take a deeper dive here.
Yeah, and I totally get that because it's like you read books across your life and they make sense to you at different points in your life too. So, no, I'm glad that's out there. Glad that we're helping you, but that you're also leaning forward as well too. But it sounds like that's been a theme for you just this year as well. Is just really being intentional and more strategic and taking the step out of the actual, the trees and looking at the forest overall and like, okay, how is this going? Um, and I know some of it was unintentional in the wild card that came into play.
A lot of it was
A
unintentional.
lot of it was unintentional, but you turned it intentional,
Yeah, yeah.
which is definitely a great thing. And it sounds like you've still got your meetup, you've still got, the storage, you still got the lending, you've still got, you're going back, you've firefighting. So out of everything that you do, I'm just very curious. Do you love firefighting the most and that's like your passion? Or like, do you love real estate? Or is it like with the real estate freedom, like you were talking about, the ability that I'm not tied geographically? Like, I don't know, like what is the thing that makes you tick specifically, Mike?
That's a tough question, but I would say, I mean, the thing that I probably, without a doubt, enjoy the most is just being a dad, right?
Okay, there we go.
Anybody that's been,
That was a test. You
for like,
passed. Just kidding.
yeah, I mean, but it's true, like, it's one of those things. Like whenever I first started, yeah, I did everything fire department. Like it was eat, sleep, and breathe.
Yeah.
And, just first off, that job is more than just a job, I think. Like it's been a career, it's been a calling, if you will.
Yeah.
It's allowed me to serve a portion of my uh, personality that is not quenchable by building a business or
Mm,
profit or
yeah.
whatever that looks like, to be able to do that line of work and the implications it's had for folks that I'll never know their names. That's
Mm,
been a great part.
yeah.
And it's going to be, I used to describe it as the book, and now I know it's going to be a chapter within the book. And so I don't want to make it sound like it's not important to me because that's not the case. But all of those things I think have made me realize that being like a present father, being a, present husband, like those are like what I really love.
Yeah.
And all of those different things have helped me kind of become that, not on purpose.
Yeah.
It's one of those things like when I got hired as a firefighter, I thought I was just going to do that job for 40 years. And
Mm.
now that I'm in my 40s, I realize my body is not going to play that game for 40 years. Uh, and frankly, when you have a significant health event like I did, the doctor, one of the first things I remember is them saying like, "Hey, you're lucky 1 in 3 people don't ever make it out of this injury."
Hey, wow.
It's like, oh wow,
That's a big percentage.
I was in an ICU with 14 people, and I was the only patient that could walk and talk.
Huh.
They either couldn't walk or they couldn't talk. And so, like, when you have something like that happen, especially unintentionally, and you're a relatively healthy 40-some-year-old
Yeah.
who is actually working out, like, and next thing you know, like, you're in an ICU, it's one of those things that makes you say, like, this job is great. I love it, but tomorrow's not a guarantee, and
Right.
that makes you recalibrate and rethink strategically what is important. So,
Yeah.
I love the freedom that real estate has given me. I love the financial ability it's given me. I love the just all the things about it that everybody loves about real estate. But yeah, if I had to pick, man, that's the one thing, like, is, it's made me kind of, like, re-emphasize the importance of just being the present father, and I'm not perfect, and I'm certainly come short of that on a routine basis, but, maybe instead of being on vacation on your phone so much, like, put that down
Yeah.
and wait. It's like, again, is that gonna matter in a year? I'm not saying that you don't have to handle things, but take an hour, go do your things, and then
Yeah.
take a break from
And
it,
be there and be
right?
present.
Yeah,
That's really
so
good.
and again, I don't wanna make it sound like I'm perfect and I've changed this and I'm, some divine spirit. Like, I fail
Sure.
all the time, but it's made me at least think about that stuff
Well, Mike, you're
more.
you're a humble guy. I think some of that is also the work you put into it as well too, and like being intentional with stuff that comes up and like taking advantage of that. So I think you've molded that yourself into that over the years as well, which I want, if you're not going to give yourself a pat on the back, I'm going to give you a pat on the back, because it's like you're taking that and taking the best
Yeah.
measures from it, which honestly, that's the best answer I think anyone can give on this podcast, is you're really doing all the business stuff so that way you can
Yeah.
focus on what's important. It's like
Yeah.
that stuff is there and that stuff can drive you and it can be passion. But like if you've chosen to have a family, or if you've chosen different things like that, or support a cause or something, it's like that's why you're doing the other thing. And sometimes
Yeah.
we forget that. It's like what you said, it's like sometimes you're in the weeds, and then it's not just the weeds of the business, and I'm not looking at the business overall, I'm forgetting life overall as
Yeah.
well
It's
too.
like
So
sometimes you just need a good reminder, like, why am I doing all
yes,
this?
yeah,
Because one day isn't necessarily guaranteed. So,
right.
yeah.
This
Yeah.
has been awesome. I
Yeah. Book
appreciate
the
our
trip.
yeah.
Just say
Yeah,
yes
click the
to
trip.
stuff.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Pull the trigger. Click the link. Buy the thing. Just kidding. So you heard it here on the Profit First podcast. Mike, let's see. How would people either reach out to you, or like, do you want to send them to the lending site? Like, you've given a ton of great value here, but how do people connect with you, or where do you want to send them?
Yeah, so I didn't even dive into it. I have a Facebook group and a podcast, First Responder Financial Freedom. You can find me on Facebook if you're interested and you're from that world. If not, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, Mike Webb, REI. You can go to our lending page, jumpcapital.loans.
Cool.
One of those places you can find me.
Give the Facebook page name again if they were going to search it up.
Sure, jumpcapital.loans.
Nope, sorry, that was the website. I was talking about the first responder.
Oh, I'm
thing that
sorry.
we got.
If you just search on Facebook or online, it's First Responder Financial Freedom.
First responder financial freedom. And then
Yep.
the Jump Capital was jumpcapital.loans, correct? If
Correct.
they want to go there and look at that. Obviously, we had Bill talk for a long time about that, and just the trust and the personal touch that he has in that business and that you guys have with that. So go there. If you want to learn more about that, go back to Bill Kenny's episode. We dive into that pretty deep. But for this one, this was a good one of really the theme was resetting, refocusing on what matters, and really getting to what you want to be and where you want to be. Follow Mike, follow him on Instagram, Facebook, go there. If you're also listening to Mike and you're like, oh my gosh, yes, he's describing me. I thought I needed this, or I think I need this now, and I think I'm behind the 8 ball, and you need help on the financial side and getting clarity and where you're going, reach out to us at simplecfo.com so we can match you with one of our CFOs and get you high-level financial help and giving you what you really need to feel like a business owner. So if you need that, that's simplecfo.com. Mike, thanks again for being on the podcast, and honestly for bringing a touch of the real world here of being like, okay, what really matters and what we can focus on. So appreciate that, and for being a great guest.
This episode of the Profit First for REI podcast is over, but there are plenty more where that came from. Are you ready to learn how David and his team can help implement the Profit First system in your business? Schedule a discovery call at simplecfo.com right now. We'll see you next time on the Profit First for REI podcast with David Richter.